What is up, you beautiful happy hustlers out there? Kerry Jack here, and I hope you're having an amazing day. I mean it, just staying grateful, staying positive, and enjoying this very moment right here and right now. And in this episode of the Happy Hustle Podcast, we have on Mr. Steve Hoffman, also known as Captain Hoff, who is the captain and CEO of Founderspace, one of the world's leading startup accelerators. And Founderspace was ranked the #1 incubator for overseas startups by Forbes and Entrepreneur magazines. Hoffman is also a venture investor, a serial entrepreneur, and author of several award-winning books. These include Make Elephants Fly, Surviving a Startup, and The Five Forces. He was also the chairman of Producers Guild Silicon Valley chapter and on the board of the Governor's New Media Council, founding member of the Academy of Television's Interactive Media Group. This guy is super successful, and he is going to talk to us all about happy hustling your startup venture and how you can just take your idea and make it a reality. So buckle up because we're about to dive into this episode of the Happy Hustle Podcast. All right, Steve Hoffman, welcome to the Happy Hustle Podcast, my man. I'm super excited to connect.
Kerry, I am so happy to be here.
Awesome, man. And I'm going to call you Captain Hoff for this interview, if that's okay.
Call me Captain Hoff. That is my nickname in Silicon Valley, where I'm from.
All right. I love it. So Captain Hoff, I mean, you have a lot going on. You're one of the founders of Founderspace, which is the world's leading startup accelerator for overseas startups, ranked by Forbes and Entrepreneur magazine. I mean, you're an author, you're a venture capitalist, you got, your hand in a ton of different pots, and I'm excited to dive into all of them.
Yeah, let's go into all those pots. I'm ready to go.
Let's do it. But before we do, I am curious, what is something interesting about yourself that not too many people know?
Not too many people know that when I was a kid, all the way up through high school, I was a hardcore gamer. And actually, my nickname, Captain Hoff, is my gamer handle. So I was a gamer, but I wasn't just a computer gamer. I played a lot of computer games, but I also created games. So I created over 100 role-playing and board games, none of which were published, all of which my friends had to play, like continually making new versions of new games and testing them out on my friends. That's what I love to do.
Huh, that's awesome. So do you play games now still?
I still do. I still play games, but not as avidly as when I was younger. And that is just because my life is a game. So I'm always like, I'm so busy playing this big game that I call Founderspace, my company, that I don't play Monopoly or other games as much.
That's true. Life is one big game, right? And, if you treat it like such and you have fun in the process, that's what the Happy Hustle is all about, right?
It is. Like, you can be happy because, it's just a game. Like, I'll win some, I'll lose some, I'll try different things. There's a lot of luck involved in all of this. I can't control it, but you can control how much fun you have.
So true. So true. So speaking of fun and business and combining the two, let's kick things off with a bang. Let's start with, what are your principles in your latest book, The Surviving a Startup? How do you break down the pillars of actually surviving a startup? Because I know a lot of the happy hustlers out there, they have a aspiration to be their own boss, right? And when you're creating a startup, that's your dream, most likely, is to be your own boss, to do something with purpose, that makes a positive impact and, hopefully makes some money, right? So what would you say are your principles for actually surviving a startup and doing it right?
Yeah. Well, as we know, most startups fail, unfortunately. And a lot of them fail at the early stage within the first year. People just can't get it together. So some of the principles are, what do you do to actually increase your odds of success? How do you avoid those traps that people fall in? And I will tell you, a lot of people will think of an idea that they want to do, something they want to do, but that idea will just be an idea in their head. And then they'll spend a lot of time working on it, trying to build it, trying to make it happen, but without doing a few things first that they should have done. So number one, if your idea requires other people, like not just you, you should be putting a huge amount of time into selecting just the right people, not
Mm,
anybody, not your cousin Joey, not the friend from high school who's unemployed so you can bring them on. You need to figure out like who are the people that are like A players that can really help you build something great. Like get these
mhm.
people, because a lot of times we just pick who's available, and that's a mistake. We need to, finding great people takes time and work, but you should put this in when you have a day job. Put it, spend a lot of time figuring out who you want to work with, and then instead of coming up with an idea on your own and trying to convince them that that's the best idea ever and that's going to make them a millionaire, instead say, look, I just really want to work with you. Let's figure out together. Let's try a bunch of different ideas, because honestly, we don't know what's going to work. And I have seen more startups fail for the single reason that they pick an idea and they stick with this idea too long. Like the idea isn't working, but because they fell in love with it, this idea was what they, and they feel like I can't fail. I have to make this idea work. They end up keep pounding away on this idea and it ends up going nowhere. Like
Mm.
most ideas you have will not bear the fruit you think they will. They just won't. But there are a few, so you should spend more time up front picking the people and then going on a journey together to discover, trying all sorts of different things. The really amazing entrepreneurs out there, they don't pick one thing and stick with it. They actually go into the world and they're like, I'll try this. That doesn't work. I'll try that. That doesn't work. I'll try this. So they're all looking at opportunities like, where are my talents? Like, where would those apply? More importantly, what do people out there really need that they're not getting?
Mm.
And this is another thing in surviving a startup. The entrepreneur's role is not to give birth to this idea in an epiphany, right? And fully formed and say, oh, I'm a genius. This is going to, this is going to make me the richest person ever, or this is going to change the world. It's not to do that. Really great entrepreneurs go into the world first and they start looking looking at an area that they're interested in. So they might say, I really want to look into the fishing industry. I want to make that more sustainable. I want to, transform this industry, which has been doing things the same way for decades.
Mm.
And so maybe I want to reduce bycatch and things like that that are really negative impacts on the ocean life and the world. So, but I have all these ideas, but when I go to the fishing industry, they might just not care. Like they don't care. They don't want to invest in these things because they're things I want, but they're not necessarily things they want. So the really smart entrepreneur will go into the fishing industry and maybe they have some ideas that they can run past these people, but they will spend more time looking at what isn't working in the industry. Like, why isn't it working? Why does bycatch happen? Let's say that's the problem they want to solve. How can they help the people in the fishing industry solve their problems and at the same time build, make more sustainable, efficient, profitable fishing vessels? Like, how could they do this? But you don't do that from, just the outside coming in. And you can't expect the fishing industry to reform itself. The people doing that business are just going to do what they always do, right? So it has to be somebody from the outside. But being an outsider has an advantage. Like you can see things they don't. But it also has a disadvantage is you don't understand them, like and what their priorities are. Getting in their heads early on, figuring out where their pain points are, why they do the things they do, what are their goals, everybody like in the world that I know, has goals, right? We usually have 3 goals that are like our most important at any given time. Like these are the 3 things we want to get done.
Yep.
Honestly, if your idea doesn't align with one of those 3, you don't have a business. Like that person you think is your customer might smile at you. They might say, great, go for it. But at the end of the day, they're not going to come back. They're not going to buy your product. So doing those things that I just outlined at the very beginning and going on this journey, not expecting it to work out quickly, expecting, to put in time and make it happen and figure things out as you go along. That is the best way to kind of launch a new business that actually has a chance of becoming not just even a small business. It could be a small business and that's fine, or a medium business, but it could potentially be a very big business. You might just stumble upon that thing where wow, there's all the, we are hitting a real critical pocket of demand and unleashing that.
Yeah, I love that. That's what business is all about, solving people's problems, right?
It
And in
is.
order to solve them, you actually have to identify what they are, and I recently did an episode on identifying your ideal client avatar. And I think this plays right into that, which is identify, what exactly your ideal client avatar's problem is and solve that person's problem. And if it's a company, big, medium, small, it really doesn't matter. It's based on your goals, but you have to align, their needs with your solution in order to have true success. And I love your book title, Make Elephants Fly. What does that mean exactly? Give us the backstory there.
So this is a book I wrote right before surviving a startup. Make elephants fly. The elephant is your big idea. That is your dream. But how do you make an elephant fly? It seems impossible. Like, how do you get your big idea off the ground? So this book is all about the process of innovating. Like, how do companies innovate? From little companies like startups to big corporations. Like, what do they do? How do they come up with these breakthrough ideas? Like, is it magic? Does a light bulb just go off in their head? Usually not, right? Very seldom. Almost always, it's a process. It's a process they go through. And a process, in innovation, like if you're going to do something that nobody has ever done in the world before, like really innovate, like you're going to come up with something new that's of real value that people haven't done, then it's not an A to B. You usually don't see it right away. Like the companies that have some of the biggest innovations we've ever seen actually didn't see what they were doing for the longest time.
It's true.
I can give you a few examples. So
please.
Like there's a company I think you may have heard of called Google. And
what are they about?
When Google started, we all know Google, Larry Page and Sergey Brin thought they were doing a nonprofit, which is ironic. Google is one of the most profitable companies that ever existed in the history of humankind. Like, how could they think they're doing a nonprofit? Well, their original business model was there are professors that need to find academic research papers online. We're going to build a tool that helps them do that. Oh, that sounds nonprofit. It's pretty niche. Right? How many professors are there that are finding research papers? You're not going to make that much money. However, along the way, they discovered that this algorithm they built to find research papers could actually be applied to search in general. And that transformation, that seeing, oh my God, this path is what led Google to where they are today. And honestly, even once Google figured that out, they were willing to sell their initial search engine. They went to a company called Excite at Home, which no longer exists today, this cable company. And they went to them and they basically said, we'll sell you. We figured out that there's a bigger market here than professors, but we'll sell you this for $750,000. Imagine what a bargain that would have been. The company passed. They didn't buy Google. Luckily for Google, they didn't sell. That shows you how clueless they were that they were onto a really big idea at the time. And I'll give you one more example because it's really fun. We all use YouTube today, but when I know the founders of YouTube, I've met them, and when they were starting their company in Silicon Valley, they actually were starting a video dating company. They had no idea what it would become today, like the largest broadcast video network that ever existed. They were starting a video dating company, and as they were doing this, they found out nobody wanted to video date. Like nobody actually, it's embarrassing. People didn't want to do it. And so they were like failing. And then in the process, they actually wanted to share one of their videos that they had made of a party they were having with all their friends. And they thought, oh, if we upload it to our video dating platform and just send them the link, we can share this video. That little thing turned out to be Google, sharing a link to a video. Because at the time, nobody knew how to upload a video and share it with people. There was no easy way to do this. So once they figured that out, they made it available to more and more people. Boom, they took off.
You mean YouTube though, right? You said that.
Oh, YouTube. What was
Google
I saying?
For the second example, but
oh no,
YouTube,
it was
right?
well, it's owned by Google now. It's owned by Google, but it's YouTube. Did I?
Yes.
I totally messed up. Okay.
All right. I was like, "Ooh, I hope I'm following." So yes, YouTube.
No, the first example was how Google.
And it's interesting.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, I definitely think to get to your big idea, to really get to your elephant idea, it's not linear. Usually it's, sometimes a step backwards, sometimes a step forward. You go around a circle a little bit, and then you end up really striking a chord, and people tell you, or the market tells you, man, this is something valuable. And it's interesting to just hear how some of these big, startup founders came to be without that linear transition. So exciting nonetheless. And thank you for sharing that. Now, Steve, I am curious, what got you into entrepreneurship? And just, tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey.
Well, I have a really crazy background. So I like to say I've had more careers than cats have had lives. So if you're somebody out there who's tried a lot of different things and don't quite know where you're going, I can relate. Like, I just would follow my passions. So as I told you, I loved to make games as a kid. I loved to make films. Like, by the time I graduated high school, I'd made over 50 movies, short films with my friends, animations.
Awesome.
But my father was an engineer, and he was like, son, study computers. Like, computers will change the world. So my dad was really smart. And I listened to him. I went and studied electrical computer engineering. But when I graduated, I didn't want to do that. Like, I was like, I don't want to just sit behind a desk and code. Like, it's not what I'm interested in doing. So I applied to film schools. And because I'd made all these movies, I actually got accepted to one of the top film schools in the country, USC. Went to that film school, studied filmmaking, and then I went out to work in Hollywood. Now, when I went out to work in Hollywood, like, I didn't know anybody. Like, I was just a student grad, and nobody cares that you graduated film school. So I had to hustle. I had to be a happy hustler. Like, I literally wrote a personal letter to 150 of the top film and television executives. 150.
Wow.
You know how many responses I got?
Probably one.
Yeah,
maybe.
Well, I was actually very lucky. I got 3.
Oh, okay.
I got 3 responses. It was a good letter. So the first response was Disney. Like, they actually brought me in. The head of development for Disney brought me in. They were interviewing me, and it was going great. I was like, I got this job. Then they asked me a trick question. They asked me, what films do you like? And you know what I told them? I told them all the films that I'd recently seen in film school. And these were like art films and experimental films and, not Disney films. By the time I was done, the face on that head of development had just dropped. And she looked at me, and I knew the interview was over. She couldn't wait to get me out of her office. So I had failed. The second interview I had was not even an interview. It was a phone call from the producer of Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. And the first thing he said to me was, I loved your letter. And the second thing he said to me is, I don't have a job. So he didn't have a job for me. He just wanted to talk. So we chatted, and that was that. The third one I got, and this was my last chance, was this guy called Chuck Freeze. And at the time, he had produced over 150 movies and television series. And he had a big building on Hollywood Boulevard, right across from the Man Chinese Theater. So I went in there, I went up to his office, and he was like, Hoffman, I'm looking at your resume. What do you want to do? I was like, I want to be a writer and a director. That's what I want to do. I've always wanted to do that. And he said, I'll see what I can do. A couple weeks later, he gets back to me. And you know what job I got? He gave me the glorious job of being a reader, the lowest guy on the totem pole. So I'd gone to film school, got a graduate degree, 3 years. And here I was reading scripts where you get paid almost nothing. You can't even live off of it. It's just a pittance. And then you write up a synopsis. What you're doing is basically screening out all the bad scripts. So every script that's bad, you screen out, and you tell the actual people in the film industry, the producers and executives, what to read, what's worth their time. So it's a powerful position, but a very lowly position. So because you're screening out all these scripts.
Yep.
And so I did that for a while, and it's not what I wanted to do. Like, I thought I didn't go to school for 3 years just to read scripts and write up little notes on them. So I went back and I said, Chuck, give me a chance to be a writer, or director or something more in your organization. He goes, Hoffman, you've only been working a couple weeks. What do you want? And go away. So I went away. But sure enough, he gave me a shot. He made me a researcher. And so I was still reading scripts, but I also had a research project where I got to research and write up a whole synopsis for a TV series. That I did a really good job. I worked like crazy. Came back, he was impressed. So when he was impressed, I was like, Chuck, give me more. Let me be a writer. Like, you can see I can do this. Hoffman, aren't you ever satisfied? Go away. So I go away. Come back in like a week later into the office. I'm going to meet their head of development that worked under Chuck. She's sitting there, and I come in to get my scripts, like my pile of scripts, and she is glaring at me. She's shooting daggers out of her eyes. You know what? She stands up and she says, "You got me fired." Runs out of the office. Literally runs out.
Jeez.
I don't know what she's talking about. Like, then Chuck's assistant brings me back to Chuck. And I'm like, I'm so confused. Like, I don't know what's happening. Chuck goes, "You're our new head of development, Hoffman.
Oh, wow.
Go take the office." So it was like so bizarre. It was like that movie Swimming with Sharks. I don't know if you ever watched it. Barton Fink, it was this crazy, surreal thing. So I'm there. My window overlooks the Man Chinese Theater, Hollywood Theater, sitting in this empty office, right? That I honestly don't know what to do. I don't know what she did. All I did know is that she handed me, scripts, but I don't know what else she did. Then the phone starts ringing, like it's ringing and ringing and ring. Finally, I pick up the phone. I don't feel like it's my phone. And I'm like, hello. And it's one of the big agencies, ICM. And they're like, "Can we send over this script? Blah, 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 blah." Okay, sure. And I hang up. Then I go back to the desk where she sat. And all the other readers start to come on. I'd only been there like 6 weeks. Like, I'd hardly been at the company. All these other readers start to come in, and they like, "What are you doing sitting behind her desk? Like, what are you doing there?" I was like, "Well, I'm the new head of development," but I didn't know what to do. And they go, "Well, aren't you going to give me my script? Where are they?" And then they had to show me.
Oh, geez.
So it was a crazy job. Then, I get invited into Chuck's office to go for a development meeting, right? And I didn't know the television business. First of all, at Disney, they didn't hire me because all I could do is talk about all these films you would see in film school, arts films and experimental kind of seminal films for film history, but not really the industry. I was like totally not tuned into television at all. So, because I wanted to just be a writer, I didn't even want that development job. So I'm sitting there in the office with him and his son, because there's always nepotism in Hollywood. They're going batting back and forth, all these ideas on films. And then Chuck turns to me and goes, "Hoffman, we're going to cast this leading role, this female role, and blah, 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 blah. Who do you think would be right for the part?" Since I didn't watch television, I had no clue, like, who would be right for that part. So I was starting to panic. But then I thought, okay, this is what I'll tell him. I said, "Chuck, let me get back to you. I need to think about this." So I told him this. I went back to my office, and luckily my brother's best friend literally was an encyclopedia of everything Hollywood, like literally an encyclopedia. He knew every A-list actor, B-list actor, C-list actor, like everybody, like just because he had this photographic memory, and sucked this information up. So I described the part to him, and he says, "Oh, well, she could play the role, or she could play the role, or this actress could play the role." So I write those down. The next day I get called into Chuck's office. I'm sitting there, and he turns to me and he goes, "Hoffman, have you thought about it? Who should be in the part?" I go, "Chuck, I have actually. I think she could play the role, or she could play the role, or she would be really good for the role." Chuck looks at me. "Hoffman, you're brilliant."
So that's funny, man.
So basically, I faked my way through that job. Like,
yeah. I've been there.
And I learned it on the fly. Like, I learned by after a year, I kind of got it down,
Yep.
But especially the first six months, I was just winging it. Really fun. After that, I met Yeah, that was crazy. I could go on and on. I will stop there. I've endless
All right,
stories
all right. I
about
feel
my
like you
life.
could go on and on. So I'm gonna reel you in, Steve. I want to reel you in so we can deliver some mass value to the happy hustlers. But you definitely are a good storyteller. So I can see, that guy, whatever his name was, the
Chuck Freeze.
Chuck just yelling, your name, and it was a good mental. So let's talk about innovating in your business, because I want to really, I always like to give the happy hustlers some real like nuggets of
Mm.
actual tangible takeaways and stuff that they can utilize. What is your process for innovating in your business? And how would you recommend someone who maybe is swimming right now in a red ocean, like not really doing anything different,
Right.
but getting by? What's
There's
the
so many
secret?
of us who are like
Yeah.
out there in the red ocean, meaning there's lots of competition. It's very bloody, very hard to get up, raise your prices. Everybody's competing on price. It's hard to get ahead that way. Like if you have a business, you want to get ahead. I will tell you, number one, you have to offer value that your competitors aren't. Like it's the only way. And you have to make your customers aware of the value you do offer. Like not, you should never compete at market rates. Like it isn't about like undercutting the competitor. It is always about, can I deliver so much value that this person just doesn't want anybody else? They only want me for that job. And this can be anything. So it applies to individual, service people as well as big corporations. It's the same game. But how do you create that value? Usually you don't create it out of thin air. Like you don't just think it up. If you look at what all your competitors are doing, which is good, you should keep your eye on every competitor. Like if they're offering something special, you should know about it. Like, and you should make sure you offer it too, because otherwise they're going to be stealing your customers. So first thing, like very basic, like just go to your competitors, look at their websites, look, usually all the stuff, read their press releases, read everything they're doing, look at where they're marketing, copy all the best stuff they have. But that's not enough. That'll just get you on level with them. Like you need to get ahead of them. So how
Mhm.
do you get ahead? And this is what few entrepreneurs spend enough time doing. And that is really when you are stuck, when you're like hitting your head against the wall and you're like, I need to figure out how to get more. Go to your customers and literally ask them, how can I do more for you? What more do you need? Like, what are you you've used a lot of these services. What are you unhappy with? What would you want improved? They will start to tell you. They might not tell you what you specifically should do, but they will tell you the outcomes they want. They're like, oh,
Mhm.
this process is, I wish it were faster. And then you can take that, I wish it were faster, figure out a way to speed it up, right? They might
Yep.
be saying, I want to communicate faster. They might be saying, I want faster response times. They might be, a lot of different things. But literally by going to them repeatedly, not just once, but over and over and over, are there problems you're having ahead that are really driving you nuts? If you can find problems that are just driving them nuts, you could step in there, like with your service business or whatever business you have, and actually, oh, we can do that for you. We can make it so much easier, and we can do this for you. And so you don't have to think about this. We'll also do this. And that's when you start to lock customers in. I like to say you grow a business by growing value for your customers. You don't grow it just by doing more marketing or just, more sales. Take the customers you have, make them incredibly happy. You will get more customers and you'll get more business from them in the end.
Yeah, so well said. I mean, you grow a business by growing the value.
Yes.
That's it's genius in its simplicity, Captain Hoff. I love it. Um, I mean, and it really is something, when I thought about, or when I think about my journey as an entrepreneur too, it's okay, how can I deliver more value? And I've had, just fun facts, so 3 failed startups.
Okay,
And
you've done it.
yeah, so I have failed forward, and more than one occasion. And really it has been gut wrenching at times, and then some of the highest highs at times. Being an entrepreneur, it's not for the faint at heart, and you have to always resort back to that question: how can I deliver more value to my end user, to my customer? And that's how you continue to evolve and really make money and an
Yeah.
impact.
And if you want to have a really big business, like take your small business and make it much larger. I always say the entrepreneur's job isn't to build products. It isn't to just service customers. Your job is to actually look in the marketplace out there for untapped demand. Like there are pools of demand. It's like you're an oil wildcatter, right? And there are these pools of demand just waiting to explode because the world is changing. Technology is changing. We've had COVID. We have markets are changing. All of these things create demand for things that people didn't need before, that you might not realize, that people don't realize. If you want to get ahead, go out into the world and start assessing, where there are these pent-up pools of demand that none of your competitors are tapping, and laser focus on those. That's what gets you. Once you find the demand, you can build the product. Like not vice versa. Once you find the demand, that demand defines the idea. You don't have to come up with the idea. It tells you what it is.
Yeah, it's a great point. Talk to us about finding that demand and really doing the proper due diligence to determine if it truly is demand. Do you have any tactics?
I have something to say on everything, but yes, in particular.
I love it.
So I've had entrepreneurs and they're like, what should we do? And I'm like, go out and talk to 100 of your potential customers, your target customers, the people who you really think would buy from you, and see if they like what you're doing now. Like because they think their idea is really innovative, they think it's amazing, but I'm like, I don't care what you think, and you don't really care what I think because I'm not your customer. But they're out there, you can go talk to them. So go get there. I've had one entrepreneur, he did it. He talked to 100 customers, he comes back to me and he's like, Captain Hoff, all those customers, like all of them said, that's really nice. Come back when it's ready. All of them said that. So I am so stoked. Like, this is the idea. I turned to him and said, you know what? I think you're going to fail. Now, why would I say that? I'm not a sadist. Like, I'm not trying to beat this entrepreneur down. I say it because he told me 100 of the customers said, that's really nice. Come back later. You know what that is? That's not validation. That's getting him out of their office. Like, everybody will tell you, oh, that's interesting. That's a nice idea. That's great. Come back later. If you hear that over and over again, it's a no. But what you need to hear, and this is to answer your question specifically, the only way you know you have something is if your customer turns to you and says, not that's nice to have or that's great, but oh my God, can I have it right now? How can I get it? This is something I really need.
Here's my credit card.
Here's my credit card. I got to get this. Get me on board today. If you hear some of your customers saying that, wow, I've hit it. Like, these people really need it. Then you extrapolate. How many other people out there have the same demand, like the same problem, the same need? If there are enough of them out there, as big as that market is as big as your market is.
It's a great point. And again, people, I don't think spend the proper time really doing that due diligence. I know, just silly example, but I spent probably 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks of deep work building an online course. And I was so excited about launching it. And I couldn't wait to just see the Stripe dollars build up in my account. And then I launched it to crickets, and I had like literally one sale at $9.97 for these 3 weeks of just probably hundreds of hours, built up prior to the work as well. And it just was such a grave example of asking before you build it, and getting true demand. So I love that we're talking about it. And I think it really is important.
I've done the same thing. And I will tell you what you should have done. And it's and surprisingly simple, but I didn't do it until after, until it was too late. Most people I know don't do it. You should have gone to a platform like Facebook or Google AdWords. You should have targeted exactly the people who would want that course. You should have put ads up there with the different titles for the course. Like, you could experiment because different titles would react differently. You should have driven them to a simple landing page that you could get up, from a landing page provider, super simple. And then on that landing page, you should have had like a little video or just even images, graphics describing the course, and an email box saying, sign up for this course now, And,
pre-sale.
Right, pre-sale. and they could sign up and pay you. And when it's ready, it's done. If you only got like one response, then you would know there's no point in building this course. I just saved myself 3 weeks worth of time by doing this simple experiment. And if there are a lot of, and the beauty of this is once you get the system going, you can literally tweak it and try out 50 different courses on different demographics and figure out which one spikes. Like, what are they actually going to buy? Not what is nice to have. Like, nice to haves, as we said, nobody cares about a nice to have product. Like, it has to be something that they really need. So
no, it's such a great point. And even I talk about that too. I mean, as well with the Happy Hustlers, just pre-selling before you build it. And I think it's a lost art of, again, tapping into your customer psyche, and not just the demographics of who you think you're going to sell to, but again, the psychographics, like what really makes them tick, and then marketing directly to that person with their problem top of mind, and that's what I've seen success with, is when I do those things properly, it works, and when you don't, it doesn't. So
it doesn't.
Yeah.
And usually that first idea that came into your head isn't exactly right. That's why you need to go through a lot of iteration on it before you can nail it.
So true. Captain Hoff, I like to ask happy hustle hacks in a couple different disciplines. First being health. Without your health, you really can't happy hustle in any venture or any startup or any business. What is a tip, tool, or tactic, I like to deem those happy hustle hacks, that you use to keep yourself sharp?
So I'm pretty fit now. Like, I'm at a really good weight, so of course I eat healthy. Everybody should do that. If you don't want to gain weight, the best thing you can do is just, first of all, don't have junk foods in your house. Like, don't have, sugary, fatty, carbohydrate foods in your house, because if you don't have them there, it's a hassle to go get them, and you probably will just eat what you have. So that's number one. Number two, portion size. Like, literally, when you make just what you should be eating and not more. Like, if you make extra, you will overeat. Like I do anyway. I don't know about you, but I do. Like, all of the second and all of the third, when I know I just needed that one serving. So do that. That'll stop you from overeating. Number three, exercise. Now, I'm lazy. Like, not one of those people who, runs triathlons or goes to the gym every day. I'm not doing that because I'm lazy, but I do exercise every day. So number one, I never ask myself if I want to exercise. If I ask myself if I am in the mood to exercise, the answer will be invariably, maybe tomorrow.
Right.
Tomorrow. I'm busy now. I have other things. I'm too tired. There's a million excuses. So I never ask. I just, like, I'm always going. Like, every day I exercise, every single day for at least an hour. Like, the hour is the baseline, sometimes more. But then you don't have to do hard exercise to actually be quite fit. Like, you don't have to go into do major workouts and stuff. Like, I tried some of these HIIT programs where you really and I know they're supposed to be great. Like, in 20 minutes, you can get 2 hours worth of exercise, but my God, they're mentally exhausting. So what I do, and this is my secret strategy, I usually go hiking, like up big hills and down hills, and really
did that yesterday.
See there. And I try to do that every day. Sometimes I'm on flat terrain, so I can't, but usually wherever there's good terrain that really works you out, I do that. And then I also double up, because I want it to be super enjoyable for a really lazy man. I listen to audiobooks as I exercise. So or podcasts, like podcasts or audiobooks. So I download them in advance. I'm listening to them, and the time goes by like that. And the exercise doesn't feel like it's work. Like, I'm going up these mountains, and I'm really good. I can go hike forever, up and down these things, but it all feels fun, So that is my advice. Those three.
It's a good point. I mean, just first of all, eating right, healthy, organic, wholesome foods, just cutting out the crap garbage. I mean, a lot of the happy hustlers know that. And, just making sure you don't overeat too. And then just getting in movement every single day. Great points there. Now let's talk about money. I know you probably made a bunch. You probably also lost a bunch. I look at money as a tool, like a frequency, something that I can use to become more of myself and really live life on my terms. But I am interested to hear your take on money, and maybe a tip, tool, or tactic you've used to save or invest or spend wisely.
So I'm pretty good at saving, just naturally. Some people aren't. If you aren't saving, you got to be disciplined. Like, you just Don't ask yourself if you want to save. You just like, you have a schedule and you're always putting that money away, a certain percentage.
Or automate it, right?
Yeah, automate it. There's apps out there that do that.
Yep.
So they can automate withdrawal from your bank so that you don't touch it.
That's what I do.
really useful.
Yeah.
In terms of making money, well, I am a big believer, like you, that money isn't the end goal. Like, it doesn't matter how much money you have if you're not happy and if you're not doing what you want to do, because you're going through your whole life and not doing what you want to do. You're just accumulating some bank account that maybe some heir will inherit, right? And when you're old, what are you going to use that money for anyway? Like, you have your health now, you have your mind, you have your ambitions, do what you want to do. So at the same time, certain people really love investing. They're good at it. They can focus on that. That's good. If you aren't, put your money into ETFs or mutual funds or, some managed fund so that you don't have to manage it. Honestly, some professional can do it, because you're probably not gonna beat them. Like, in most cases, even if you love doing it, you're only going to beat them temporarily, because, if everybody could beat them every time, we'd all be, billionaires. It just doesn't work that way. But the biggest thing you can do is understand that saving early and diversifying your money are the best ways in the long run to wind up with a really nice nest egg. You could get one hit wonders, and then I've made money, I've lost money, and like you said, and all these things, some things seem really great for a while and then they totally tank. And we'll see that happen. Like, these markets go up and down all the time. People are betting on crypto and all these different things, and some are making tons of money, some are losing it. But diversify. So just put it in a bunch of different buckets and do it smartly. If you aren't going to spend the time to really manage it, get the people or institutions in there to do it. And in the long run, if you're saving, you will have money at the end of the day. You will be happy. And at the same time, you can focus on what you love to do.
Yeah, great points. I mean, just, being diligent with your savings and also diversifying your portfolio. I mean, great points there, Steve. Now let's talk about spirituality. I don't know if you believe in one God or another. I mean, for me, I'm just a spiritual person. I think you have to have faith in something in order to truly reach your full potential. But what's your take on spirituality? And do you have a happy hustle hack for it?
I do. So one of my happy hustle hacks is to understand the world for what it really is. So we live in a world of great uncertainty. You cannot control anything that's happening. A lot of the stuff we take credit for our own successes, or we blame ourselves for our own failures. Were not things completely in our control. Almost never were they completely in our control. There's always different things. So if you really want to be able to have a good life, you need to understand that the only thing you control is your reaction to what happens in your life. Like, you can take an action, but it may turn out great. It may turn out terribly. Like, you could say, I started this business. That was my action, made all these decisions that I thought were right at the time, and it just tanked or was really successful. But I can control how I react, especially when things go bad. And putting things in perspective, like in my mind, like, understand that we're all incomplete creatures, right? We have incomplete knowledge of the world. We have incomplete, we're imperfect in our own actions and our own decisions. We have to be able to step back from ourselves and say, okay, I accept that I'm not perfect. I accept the world isn't perfect. I accept that things aren't going to go the way I want them to go most of the time. Like, that's just the way the world is. But I can act in that world and actually be happy because of one thing. Number one, I make decisions that I can sleep with at night. I make decisions that I feel like on a moral, ethical level are actually good decisions. And whether they're the right decisions or wrong decisions, I don't know. But I feel like with the information I had at the time, I will always choose the decision that I know I feel really comfortable with in my heart. That's number one. Number two, if I make a mistake, I will forgive myself, and I won't blame other people. Like, I won't say, oh, it's all your fault. It's, that this happened. You don't do that. you get a lot of peace and contentment in your life. You're nobody's to blame. These things happen.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to feel sorry for yourself. You just move on. Like you move on through all the to what life has to offer you in its next stage. And then the final part is, in my view, my kind of spiritual but romantic view of the world. We all live in a story of our own creation, right? We are constantly telling ourselves stories about the world, like how the world is. What, in most of this, isn't necessarily true, but it's very true to us. Like it totally shapes our framework and our view of ourselves and our lives. So if you're going to live in a story, why not create a marvelous story for yourself where you are the hero, where you are on an adventure? And adventurers always face adversity, right? If an adventurer didn't face adversity, it wouldn't be a story, right? There'd be no conflict.
True.
There were no tough decisions to make. There are no points where the adventurer just got slammed down and it seemed like they could never get up again. So step back from yourself, like I said again, and look at yourself as a character in this story. How do you want that character to act? How do you want them to behave? Do you want them to mope about and feel sorry for themselves and, resort to alcohol? Or do you want them to be, strong and courageous and try to do the right thing and get back on their feet even when they're slammed down? Do this. And suddenly that story is you. That story is your life.
Well said, my man. Well said. And it's, just in my quick recap, it's have integrity, like do what you say you're going to do, and like morally live by a code that you can go to sleep at night without regrets. To have the accountability necessary to not blame others, and just when you mess up, own it, and like just take accountability. And 3, just realize adversity is going to happen in your life. That's part of the journey. And you have to take the good and the bad and create your story, be the captain of your own ship, right? Like Captain Hoff is over there. So great points there. I like it. Captain Hoff, where should people go to learn more about you? And I know you have something for the happy hustlers out there. Why don't you give us some links?
Okay. So if you want to find me, it's super easy. Just go to founderspace.com. Got tons of free content in there, online startup program, online innovation program, all this stuff. And I have a special offering on Founderspace, and that is our 10 commandments of raising venture capital. Even if you don't want to raise venture capital, this special free gift for you, it's really fun. Like you figure out, how venture capitalists think and, everything people go through. So just go to founderspace.com/10. TEN for the 10 commandments of raising venture capital. And if you want to contact me personally, you can do it on the website. I'm also on all the social networks like LinkedIn. Just go there, search for Founderspace.
Amazing. Yeah. And I was actually checking out that founderspace.com/10 TEN. And it's actually a video that you did.
Yes.
And it's very engaging. And there's really just a ton of things to know about that world, but they relate whether you want a big, venture backed business or you just have a business and it's a service-based business. The mindset required to succeed is present in that, the 10 commandments video. So I definitely recommend it. So awesome, Captain Hoff. I do like to ask all of my guests a couple rapid fire questions to end the interview with a bang. This is basically where I just ask you random things and you answer honestly.
I love
first
random
thing that
things.
comes to mind.
I'm a random guy.
I like it. All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Favorite food? Go.
Oh, burritos.
Favorite movie? Not a trick question.
No. I love La Dolce Vita.
Oh, never heard of it. Favorite book?
Favorite book, Hyperion. It's a science fiction book.
Best business advice?
Best business advice. I gave so much business advice. I have to think of something better. So I will tell you that the best business advice is to, when you're in your business, treat everybody with respect. Treat, be good to the people around you. That always comes back.
Yep. So true. What is your spirit animal, Captain Hoff?
My spirit animal is probably the moose.
Moose. I've
Yeah,
never heard that.
I love the moose.
We got those out here in Montana.
Yeah.
Very cool. 3 things you're most grateful for.
I am most grateful for my health, because without health, I don't have anything. Like, it doesn't matter. All the money in the world, all the success doesn't matter. I can't appreciate it. I am most grateful for my family members and the support they give me and what I'm going through. And I'm most grateful that I have had so many wonderful opportunities in my lifetime, big and small, that, I feel really blessed. I feel really like, wow, something great has happened to me. And I'm thankful for that.
Love it. Awesome. If you could have one superpower, what would that be?
So many great superpowers, but I would like the superpower to, the most powerful one would be to change the future. If I could change the future, there are a lot of problems that our world faces,
Yes.
that I would like to be able to change with a snap of my fingers.
Yeah,
so
that's
if
a
I
good
could
one.
do that, that would be my superpower.
That's a good one. And if this was the last piece of content that you put out for the world to see on a billboard, what would that say?
The last piece of content that I would put out would say that the happy hustle starts and ends here.
Love it. Very nice. Crush that rapid fire round, Captain Hoff. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you. Thank you very much, man, for sharing your love, your light, your wisdom, your fun personality, your years of business acumen. And yeah, it's just been a great interview. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. It's been really wonderful.
Yeah. Now, final question. What does happy hustling mean to you?
Happy hustling means enjoying what you're doing as you do it. So it's a job, it's your life, it's what you do with yourself. You always have to hustle to get ahead, but there's no reason it shouldn't be happy.
Preach it. Love it.
Yes.
Captain Hoff, everyone. Thanks for watching and listening. Peace and
love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening and watching this episode of the Happy Hustle podcast. And I just want to give a huge shout out to Newtopia, who is making the world domination box for maximum daily performance. Guys, this is full of some of the best nootropics, aka brain supplements on the market. They are amazing. They help with just cognitive performance, overall mood enhancement. This personal one of mine that's a favorite is called the Zamner juice, and a couple squirts helps me with just about everything, but especially with verbal articulation and overall mood enhancement. And they have a special offer for you, the happy hustlers out there. So if you guys want to go to newtopia.com/happy hustle, you can get the hookup on your own nootropic box and you can test them out for yourself. And the best part is you actually have 365 days to decide if you actually like them, because they stand behind their products with a money back guarantee. So go to newtopia.com. That's NOOTOPIA.com, and then /happy hustle and get yourself the hookup on some amazing nootropics. I know you're going to dig them. All right, y'all. Peace and love. And one more thing, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, I would so appreciate if you would share it with a friend, someone else who could benefit from listening to the Happy Hustle podcast. That's how we spread this message with the world. So check it out. You can go to carriejack.com to find all the different links and anything else about me. And I also have a free gift there if you want to download my ebook, The 10 Alignments of Being a Happy Hustler. Thanks again for watching and listening, y'all. We're out. Peace and love.